All lies will be exposed.
Hey everyone, cheers and salutations. This is going to be a, just a dedicated live stream to the breaking news, at least cracks within the Trump administration. My name is Kit Cabello. Usually we're live Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but this is a special occasion. So I think it's only fair that we do address this, but I did see in the live stream chat also, I want to really stress this out again. My condolences and solidarity and love to my colleagues at Due Dissidence, Kat Weiss. I think we all saw the video this morning. I was surprised by it as well. And I was quick to send, a message of support, solidarity, and condolences. He did lose his mother to Parkinson. And it's never easy. I lost my grandfather in 2023, and I know a couple of you who have also lost some of your parents too. And this is going to be a very difficult and rough road. And I just want to say to Keaton, you're my friend. You are a colleague. and I have nothing but love for you and your family. And I'm only hopeful that this wound, this terrible damage, will pass away. And I'm here. I think we all are here as a community. So let's just give them peace and space today, but also solidarity and love. So, I already put my message of support to him personally, and I also commented under Hard Lens Media for the video too, and cherish every minute. My own mother, she's suffering from COPD. Things are slowly getting better, but if there's one thing I want to share with all of you, and that is this: cherish the time with your friends and family now. We live every day. We only die once. Make good memories. Make things that count. Try and live a good and peaceful, just life as much as you can. That's all that's really what's required. So, solidarity and strength to my friends that do dissidents. And I am so sorry, but saying sorry is not enough. That being said, folks, that being said, we are now going to get started with our first, or what this live stream is dedicated to. Let's go ahead and bring it up here. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So, President Donald Trump's top counterterrorism official, Joe Kent, has resigned over the Iran war. Now, it's clear to me, and I think it's clear to everyone else here, that this war in Iran is an absolute disaster. And I think all wars are pointless, especially when people are dying. I mean, the Gulf states are losing their image. Dubai, and yes, I know I've done my fair share of videos on Dubai, but I think it's a very interesting case study because we need to focus on overall the opulence and wealth that has happened under the U.S. control. And look, folks, we built ourselves such a fragile infrastructure that I don't think anyone within the Trump administration is realizing just how much of a gamble this stupid war is. So in turn, I just want everyone to understand this. Everyone has a right to think however which way they feel. And I do think as time progresses on, and should gasoline prices, which they are, continue to rise up, as food prices continue to rise up, I think more and more Americans are going to wonder, why are we doing this stupid war when Trump himself is now begging NATO and other nations to help with the convoy and security of oil tankers? Now, again, on paper, that sounds great. But here's the thing. That's all on paper, graphs and charts. And you could walk around in a living room or in a kitchen or in the war room itself and have your plans and talk about it and have your predictions. But the thing is, in reality, anything can go wrong. A tanker can stall. There might be a delay leaving port. Uh-oh, your anti-missile missed the drone that cost $20,000, does a critical damage to said oil tanker, and boom, billions of dollars at the bottom of the ocean. Isn't that nice? So I think it's only fair that we do play this video of President's top counterterrorism official who worked under Tulsi Gabbard. Hey, Tulsi, where are you at? Tulsi, where are you? Anti-war says what? No war in Iran says what? Oh, she's doing yoga and surfing, guys. Give her space. The Tulsi is doing surfing and yoga. Where are you at, Tulsi? Where are you at? I'm making sandwiches for the boys. That's terrible. That's terrible. I'm sorry about that. I should not have said that. I shouldn't have said that.
The director of the National Counterterrorism Center at the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. Welcome to the first NCTC Ops Center update. I'm coming to you from the heart of our organization, the NCTC Operations Center Watch 4. 24/7, 365 days a year, this is the hub where terrorism intelligence is integrated, analyzed, and shared across the entire U.S. government, enabling tactical operations, informing strategic planning, and supporting President Trump's agenda of eradicating the terrorist cartels and gangs that have been terrorizing our communities for far too long.
Now, this is a video of him before he made his resignation.
And thwarting transnational terrorist organizations that endanger our nation. Earlier this month, we provided crucial intelligence to the U.S. Marshal Service that led to the apprehension of a Sinaloa cartel leader who had been on the run since 1997. Our historic intelligence support put an end to 2 decades of drug trafficking and money laundering that harmed our community. Hi.
Okay, now, I just this is why I love my audience, because you guys are so fucking brutal. I love you. Do you have any idea how much I love you guys? Because you guys are so brutal. So here's Tulsi Gabbard's DNI, Director of National Intelligence. This is her own account, right? March 16th. That was yesterday. Last time she posted anything, or it did, was February 25th. And on this account, February 24th. Let me just double check if she posted anything since then on her own thing. No, on her own personal account, only February 25th. Huh. 3 days later. But on March 16th, she wrote this. Lifting up, this was yesterday before Joe Kent resigned. Lifting up my friend Susie in prayer as she begins her treatment and wishing her a speedy recovery. I'm grateful to work alongside her and for her continued dedication to serving our country. Okay, well, and Donald Trump has just basically said Susie Wiles, incredible chief of staff, is battling breast cancer. Yes, of course. But hey, look, Kim Iverson resigned from this effing administration, Tulsi. Any comment on the Epstein war? Oh, there you are. Any comments about the Iran war? You care more about Susie than you do the children that were slaughtered at school by our bombs. This guy wrote, you know what? Hey, cool, great. I love it. I love everybody here. I'm mostly following all these people. I donated over $1,000 to your 2020 campaign because because of your coming out against illegal regime change wars, championing for peace and America first. You have not gone on the record concerning this illegal regime change war in Iran. Were you just a phony the entire time? The answer is most likely yes. 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 The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Let's see. Are you still working just for a paycheck? It's shameful how politicians change their tone and betray their principles. But here's Donald Trump. Okay, here. First of all, let me just pull up Joe Kent. After much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position as Director of National Counterterrorism Center, effective today. I cannot, in good conscience, this is from Joe Kent, support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no immediate threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. If you don't launch this war, you're going to lose me. Sounds like a nagging ex-girlfriend. It has been an honor serving under the President of the United States and DNI. Well, I'd be careful with those choice words for Trump and Gabbard right now, and leading professionals at the NCTC. May God bless America. Well, if we all go broke, buddy, it's on you. But listen, Trump says it's a good thing that Joe Kent resigned over the Iran war. When somebody's working with us that says they didn't think Iran was a threat, we don't want those people. See, Trump, I'm going to let you on a little bit of advice here. You should read The Prince, okay? Sometimes you need to be surrounding yourself with people who say, hey, you know that decision you're doing? It's a bad idea. Dealt with people like this before.
Your Director of National Counterterrorism, Joe Kent, he just resigned today. He said he can't support your conflict with Iran. What's your reaction to that? And did you?
Well, I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. I didn't know him well, but I thought he seemed like a pretty nice guy. But when I read his statement, I realized that it's a good thing that he's out, because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was. The question is whether or not they wanted to do something about it. And many people, many of the greatest military scholars are saying for years that presidents should have taken out Iran because they wanted a nuclear weapon. They were, if we didn't do the attack, or if I'll go a step further, if I didn't terminate the Iran nuclear deal given to us, one of the worst deals ever made by Barack Hussein Obama. Remember when they sent Boeing 757s over there, loaded with cash, hundreds of millions of dollars.
And now we're losing billions of dollars, because we want to play around and cripple our economic infrastructure. But don't worry, it's all part of the plan. If you think these politicians and their corporate owners, donors, are going to be feeling this, no. There is a real risk. You even got some of the leading people, business people in the Gulf states, hoping that there could be a peace deal, a peace treaty, a ceasefire. But I don't think Iran's going to do it this time. I think they're in it for the long haul. Last year was probably the only year maybe you could have got away with spitting in their face and slapping them in the jaw. Now, okay, they're launching their drones and missiles at Israel, at U.S. bases in the Gulf. And what, we're talking about putting boots on the ground now? Iran is not Iraq. Iran is not Afghanistan. And while we could very well march all the way to the capital, it's just a matter of controlling, maintaining the logistics of a nation that has mountainous terrain. How are you going to rule over it? There's going to be a bloody price to pay. And who's going to join us in the great invasion? Who's going to join us? This is all going to cost billions of dollars. Somehow we have money for war, but we can't do anything to help out struggling Americans. And we need to get excited for this primary. Oh, wait, the primary is today, final day for voting. And then there's a general election. Whoop-de-doo. Somebody's going to control the House and Senate. Don't worry. The new people coming in will get the big boy, big girl sit-down phone call.
Would have been very happy. This was a wonderful, they said hundreds of millions. People forget that. Does anybody remember? Right? You remember. Hundreds of millions of dollars in a Boeing 757. I think they had two of them loaded. They took the seats out and they put cash. And it was so much that there wasn't a bank in Virginia, Maryland, or D.C. that had any money left. They stripped them of all their money, put it into place, sent it to Iran, almost as ransom. That's not going to happen with Trump. And nobody ever did anything about it. Nobody ever said anything. Can you imagine if I did that? So they've been a threat for a long time, but they've really been a threat. If I didn't terminate Obama's horrible deal that he made, the Iran nuclear deal, you would have had a nuclear war 4 years ago. You would have had nuclear holocaust, and you would have had it again if we didn't bomb the site. So when somebody is working with us that says they didn't think Iran was a threat, we don't want those people.
I thought you had a peace deal with them in 2025. I thought we crippled their nuclear systems and their infrastructure last year. You know, there was like a 12-day, 10-day conflict, give or take. You know, we bombed those facilities, and then what? Then what? Then what? Then what happened? What happened? Oh, I know what happened. You got pushed by Israel to do another bombing. And now, hey, look, Israel's getting hit. Everybody's getting hit. And don't worry, the economy, listen, if it spirals out of control, I mean, there's only a matter of time for how much longer we could do this for. February 28th is when we did that bombing. Okay, February 28th. So let's do the math here. From the 29th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Oh, my goodness, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 days. And Trump is also asking for help from NATO.
Because, and there are some people, I guess I would say that, but they're not smart people or they're not savvy people. Iran was a tremendous threat. And virtually every NATO nation, and this is the thing, if they told me it wasn't a threat and therefore they don't want to help, but when they say it was a threat and it was a major threat, every one of them, I think every one of them, I don't know of one that said they're not a threat, but when they say it was a threat, but we're not going to help, I think they're very foolish. You know, it's interesting. It's interesting because I could say this, that what's happening in Ukraine, we're probably in there for $400 billion. We don't spend any money anymore. They buy it from us and they pay full price. But Biden gave them between $350 and $400 billion.
I thought you were going to do a ceasefire deal. You're going to do it in one day. No more fighting, no more dying.
Of equipment and cash. Someday they'll have to find out about the cash. And you could say that wasn't a threat. You know, we're helping them. So we helped them and they didn't help us. And I think that's a very bad thing for NATO.
Yeah, okay, so I have no idea what the hell he was talking about. I guess he's just kind of hoping that people will buy his BS. But at the end of the day, this is Trump right here. This is President Trump right here announcing that NATO will not be helping the United States against the war with Iran. We don't need their help until we do.
And they don't want to help us, which is amazing. I mean, amazing. And I didn't do a full court press because I think if I did, they probably would be. But we don't need help. You know, we've that war has been long prosecuted as far as I'm concerned, almost from day one. We knocked out many of these things. We knocked out the Navy essentially in a couple of days. But I was surprised to see that NATO while they agree that it was a very important thing to do, they agree fully. Nobody said, "Oh, you shouldn't do it." They would have had a nuclear weapon within 1 month of when we had the B-2 bombers bomb the nuclear potential. I call it the nuclear dust. So I think NATO's making a very foolish mistake. And I've long said that, I wonder whether or not NATO would ever be there for us. So this was a great test because we don't need them, but they should have been there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we don't need them, but they should have been there. See, sooner or later, more people are going to be leaving the Trump train, okay? And I just want to point this out here, too. And what could go wrong making it the threat of leaving NATO? Now, here's the thing, Trump, and everyone else that's watching this. Joe Kent might be the first of many that see the writing on the wall, okay? Trump in 2024, he was on Theo Von's podcast, Joe Rogan's podcast. He was on a lot of people's shows. Now, I even think Aiden Ross interviewed him. Yeah, that happened. See, that's how senile I'm getting. I'm forgetting so much. A lot of people jumped on board for the Trump train because, one, they were tired of the wars. Two, this was the most important thing, the economy was a major issue, which is why Biden and Kamala lost. All right? People wanted just some normalcy. And Trump was promising to be that peace candidate and end wars, that we were going to be making money. We were going to be winning so much. But the problem is that his promises were weak. What? The transparency for the JFK, RFK Sr. files, Martin Luther King files, and what? The Epstein files? I mean, Jesus Christ. Hey, listen, all the war crimes in the world will never cover up the Epstein crimes, okay? People are still talking about it. There's still interest. And the Epstein files will be here long after this stupid war with Iran is done. Your little wag the dog moment, everyone sees through it. Operation Epstein's files. There you go. Okay? And yet here we are. Here we are with this administration that is now leading us into economic chaos. So otherwise, Trump and his followers, or most of Trump followers, are looking at, hey, the economy sucks. The economy's struggling. Two, we're in a war with Iran. And there's no clear end in sight. None whatsoever. So, well done. Now, Dr. Nick, you bring up something here too. In fairness, Ken should have resigned prior to February 28th if he knew intel wasn't actionable. This is him saving his ass and provide deniability. It could be it. And also, Dr. Nick, there's another thing, too, to take into account. Remember, there's a long process in regards to maybe resigning from a presidential administration. I know. The one word that I hate the most, bureaucracy, or a legal process. He also probably had to make sure and double check with a lawyer before he could do anything else. Because you never know. You got to dot your I's and cross your T's. See, this is why I've been hesitant not only to not endorse anyone, but even interview politicians and candidates, okay? Because you never know really what you're getting into when you get into the realm of politics. And, we cover a lot about politics here, but you got to be careful. You got to be careful with these politicians. And if you start working or getting involved or even running your own campaign, it looks nice on paper, but the reality is he might have had to go through a whole process just to get to resign because he's like, oh, God, they actually did it. And he's probably thinking, how do I get out of this? That's the thing. Like, there might be people who want to resign because they see the writing on the wall. And this midterm election cycle, theoretically, could be a disaster for the Republicans, at least in theory. Let's see. And also, let's rewrite the saying, fool me once, I'll never trust you again. There you go. There you go. There you go. Good to see everybody. Good to see everybody here. Exactly. Dr. Nick gets it. Yeah, Dr. Nick. That's why Dr. Nick's number one. That's why Dr. Nick is number one. But I also want to pull up something else here, too, because this is why I love my audience. Dr. Nick, yes, I did see your message on Discord. And, this is from the press secretary herself, Caroline Leavitt. She's going to bat for old Trump. There are many false claims in this letter, but let me address one specifically, that Iran posed no immediate threat to our nation. This is the same false claim that Democrats and some of the liberal media have been repeating over and over. Well, then, is Iran sending its Air Force into New York City? Is Iran sending secret submarines into Lake Michigan so they can do an amphibious landing in Chicago? Is Iran sending all of its drones over to LA? I'm willing to bet if Iran's flying its drones over to LA, they're like, whoa, what happened here? Who got here before us? Was it North Korea? Sorry, people of LA. You know I love you. You know I love you. By the way, the guy who owned the World Trade Center now owns the U.S. Bank Tower. Uh-oh. It's a disaster all around. Anyways, as President Trump clearly explicitly stated that he had a strong and compelling evidence that Iran was going to attack the United States first. This evidence was compiled from many sources and factors. President Trump would never make the decision to deploy military assets against a foreign adversary in a vacuum. Iran is the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism. The Iranian regime is evil. Woogie boogie boogie. It proudly killed Americans, waged war against our country, and openly threatened us all the way up to launch of Operation Epic Fury, Epstein's files. What? Iran was aggressively expanding their short-range ballistic missiles to combine with their naval assets to give themselves immunity, meaning they would have a degree of capabilities that would give them immunity to hold us and the rest of the world hostage. The regime aimed to use those ballistic missiles as a shield to continue achieving their ultimate goal, nuclear weapons. You know, why don't we have the same kind of fury and anger towards North Korea or China or Russia? Oh, wait, because they got nukes, right? There's a little bit of an understanding, a little sit down, right? The president, through his top negotiators, gave the regime every single possibility to abandon this unacceptable course by permanently giving up their nuclear ambitions in exchange for sanctions, relief, free nuclear fuel, and potential economic partnerships with our country. But they would not say yes to peace because obtaining nuclear weapons was their fundamental goal. President Trump ultimately made the determination that a joint attack with Israel would greatly reduce the risk of American lives that would come from a first strike by the terrorist Iranian regime and address this immediate threat to America's national security interests. All this led to President Trump arriving to the determination that this military operation was necessary for U.S. national security, which is why he launched the massively successful Operation Epstein Files, Epic Fury. The commander-in-chief determines that what does and does not constitute as a threat because he is the only one constitutionally empowered to do so, and because the American people went to the ballot box and entrusted him alone to make such final decisions because he ran as a peace candidate. Hey, everybody who had Trump on your show, what's it like eating that crow? And finally, the absurd allegation that President Trump made his decision based on the influence of others, even foreign countries, is both insulting and laughable. Yeah, so what? Is Thomas Massie lying because no one in Congress has an APAC? A bed sitter. We got to do something for the bed. We're going to have the bed. President Trump has been remarkably consistent and has said for decades that Iran will never possess a nuclear weapon. As someone who actually witnessed President Trump's decision-making process on a daily basis, I can attest to the fact that he's always looking to do what's in the best interest of the United States of America, period. America first, which is why we did this thing for Israel. You know, I find this paragraph right here very interesting. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage war with Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an immediate threat to the United States and that you should strike now. There was a clear path to a swift victory. This was a lie, and it's the same tactic the Israelis used to draw us into the disastrous Iraq war that cost our nation the lives of thousands of our best men and women. We cannot make this mistake again. As a veteran who was deployed to combat 11 times, and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon in a war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people nor justifies the cost of American lives. I pray that you will reflect upon what we are doing in Iran and who we are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. You can reverse course and chart a new path for our nation, or you can allow us to slip further towards decline and chaos. You hold the cards. On my Kick stream, we talked about, we had actually played the video, Fall of Civilization podcast of Bronze Age collapse. Check it out. What's very sad and interesting is that everything is shockingly familiar. Hey, shout to Snow Himbo. He's got like 1,000 followers and then growing on his channel too as well. Make it happen, buddy. Operation I Become So Numb. Week 1, we won. Week 2, we're winning. Week 3, send help, 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 help. Help, 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 help. By the way, again, this entire war is going to really hit the Republicans hard.
This morning, former Congressman Joe Kent, who you campaigned for, ran for Congress.
So this is C-SPAN. The reporter is asking, the House Republicans about Joe Kent's resignation.
Resigned as the director of the Counterterrorism Center. He wrote that he cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. He writes, Iran poses no imminent threat to our nature. It's clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. How do you respond to that and to those other Republicans who say that this war is actually putting foreign interests above domestic?
Well, that proposition at the end is clearly wrong. I'm on the Gang of Eight. I got all the briefings. We all understood there was clearly an imminent threat, that Iran was very close to the enrichment of nuclear capability, and they were building missiles at a pace that no one in the region could keep up with. They were far outpacing our allies and friends and us in our defense capability, because we had personnel, installations, members of the armed services, and civilians in the region. Iran was building up ballistic missiles at such a rapid pace, and we knew that their plan was to fire them upon Americans. The commander-in-chief and his administration had a very difficult decision to make. I don't know where Joe Kent is getting his information, but he wasn't in those briefings, clearly, because the Secretary of State, the Secretary of War, and everyone, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Kane, they had exquisite intelligence, and we understood that this was a serious moment for us. Had the president waited, I am personally convinced that we would have mass casualties of Americans, service members and others, and our installations would have been dramatically damaged. And so we had to, the president felt that he had to strike first to prevent those mass casualties. That's a summary. I can't tell you the classified part, but that's a summary that's made public, and it's accurate. Yeah, monitored.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but even now, if there's more people resigning, if there's people that are going to be stepping down, it tells me one thing, that Trump doesn't have control. All right. And it's very clear that Israel's getting hit. The Gulf states are getting hit. We're seeing people die. We're seeing confidence wane. And recent polling data is showing that more and more Americans are disapproving of this war. No one voted for this. No one voted for a war with Iran. No one voted for a school of little girls to be blown up. Yeah. We did a double tap on a school with little girls. And not to mention, most Iranian leadership, the senior leadership, passed away, blown up. How should people respond to this? I don't like the idea that my tax dollars, our tax dollars, that we are all cucks for. That's right. We're sitting in the infamous hotel chair. You know, in the meme, we're just sitting there. We're just sitting there watching everything. You know, we're watching as our money, our resources are being led on full display on the casting couch. Yeah, there. Because I want to twist this knife. I want to trigger people. Yeah, I'll make you laugh, but I want to twist this knife deeper and deeper and deeper until you guys are upset. Our money is being wasted on a frivolous, pointless war. And of course, 165 schoolgirls blown up. Kaboom. What did those little girls do? What did they do? Someone tell me, what did they do? I want to pull this up here.
There's a lot more video of what's happening in Lebanon, what's happening in Lebanon is horrific. You know, there was basically a genocide on Gaza, and Gaza was completely destroyed. And it's just wrong to tell Americans or make Americans think that every single Palestinian in Gaza was a member of Hamas. That's just not true. There were tens of thousands of innocent Palestinians murdered by these bombs that were dropped on them. And now the same thing is happening in Lebanon. And you see a lot of that war coverage on what you can find it in the international news, where it's more difficult to find in American news. And, you know, I think if we're not showing Americans what our tax dollars are being used for, and we send $3.8 billion to Israel, and if our money and our weaponry or any type of our ammunitions are being used to murder innocent people, especially women and children, I think that is just outrageous that the American people aren't told that. And so this is the type of coverage that I would like to see more of in the United States, because the American people deserve to know the truth.
I can say here in the Situation Room, Wolf and I have been covered all.
Again, Kit, our money is being wasted on frivolous, nothing war again. Exactly. Yes. It's frivolous. It's pointless. It's stupid. It's a stupid, pointless war. And to listen, to all my allies and friends, we must all come together, even my enemies. Even to my enemies, my trolls, my haters, the people who despise me. If we don't put aside our differences, this war is going to drag us deeper and deeper into something we can't get out of. And if we do not come together, if we don't step up against these bastards, we're done for. I do issue a call for reason. I do issue a call for the ending of this madness. Where is everyone at? Because this is only the beginning. Hey, Wolfowitz, how you doing, buddy?
Breaking news this morning. We just learned, get this, the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, Joe Kent, has just announced he's resigning. CNN national security reporter Zachary Cohen is joining us right now. Zachary, what more can you tell us about this dramatic development?
Yeah, Wolf, this appears to be a significant resignation at the senior-most levels of the Trump intelligence community. This is Joe Kent. He was the director of the National Counterterrorism Center. He appearing to post on X a resignation letter that he submitted, citing misgivings over the Trump administration's decision to launch its war with Iran. Now, Kent, in this letter, writes in part, quote, as a veteran who deployed to combat 11 times and as a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife, Shannon, in a war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending the next generation off to fight and die in a war that serves no benefit to the American people, nor justifies the cost of American lives. Now, Kent, in his apparent post on X, does also seem to suggest that there was no imminent threat, that it has been used and cited by the Trump administration as justification for launching this war against Iran. He says that essentially the administration manufactured this idea of an imminent threat, and that is part of the reason why he's deciding to resign from his post today.
Madness and insanity. Insanity and madness. And what I want to say to everyone that's watching this, you know, it doesn't have to be this way. Truly, it doesn't. Yet here we are. I want to pull up another video here too, because again, more cracks are starting to show.
And we have breaking news. Top counterterrorism official Joe Kent has resigned over President Trump's war with Iran. The director of the National Counterterrorism Center posted on social media saying, quote, Iran posed no imminent threat to the U.S. He also says it's clear we started this war due to pressure from Israel. Let's bring in White House correspondent Karen Travers for more on that. Senior Pentagon reporter Louis Martinez and ABC's Patrick Reevell in Doha, Qatar as well. Hi to you all. So, Louis, how significant is this resignation?
It's very significant, Diane, because this is a senior U.S. counterterrorism official, a top intelligence official in the administration, and he has been a very strong supporter of President Trump for quite some time. He's former Green Beret, former CIA. His wife actually was killed in a terror attack in Manbij, Syria, 8 years ago. And so he heads the organization that would determine whether there is a terrorist threat to the United States. And the fact that he says there was no imminent threat is very significant, because one of the justifications that the Trump administration has used is saying that there was an imminent threat being posed by Iran towards the United States. Now, they haven't specified exactly what they meant, but one of the things that they've pointed to is the nuclear threat, that Iran was on the verge of creating a nuclear weapon based off of their 400 kilograms of enriched uranium. So the fact that you have Joe Kent now offering his resignation is a strong indication of the division within the administration, potentially, of how the war is being carried out, and whether this goes against President Trump's campaign promises not to initiate a war and to end all endless wars. But again, very significant given his position. And especially, I think the key thing to point out is his notion that there was no imminent threat to the United States being posed by Iran. And so I think that again points to divisions within the administration as we're now entering the third week in this conflict against Iran.
So the takeaway, what's the takeaway? That's going to be the first of many people who are going to want to get up and leave this administration and not look back. He's going to be the first of many who is going to be more than happy just to not only walk away from Trump and his administration, but to wipe their hands clean of it. All right. Now, many might be wondering, well, gee, why didn't he resign right away? There might be a long process in regards to doing it, you know, not to mention, knowing how knee-jerk reaction some people can be to file litigation or do lawfare, I think it's always important to dot your I's and cross your T's. Who knows just how venomous and dangerous Washington, D.C. truly is, but in a land where it's nothing but lawmakers, you better keep your goddamn head on a swivel. So, Joe Kent, one of the first of many. Is this the sign that the Republicans are in danger? Well, knowing how more and more Americans are disapproving of how the Republican Party, Trump, is handling this war and the economy, it's very clear that there will be a high voter turnout. Now, today is the primary here in the state of Illinois. Already, I think there's been talks and reports of more voters turning out. Now, I, for one, am okay with that. That's fine. But again, electoral politics doesn't have the same ring to it as it used to. Electoral politics isn't going to just get us out of this mess, because remember, we would need Democrats to actually, do something, and that is actually be consistent and fight back. We would need Democrat lawmakers to be aggressive and unapologetic. And I think we all learned our lesson in 2024 when they refused to say anything about what was happening in Gaza. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll see if the Democrats control the House and Senate. At the end of the day, just remember, all of these politicians get the big boy, big girl sit down. Right? They get the phone call, they get the text message, they get the email, they get the smoke signals, they get the radio signals, okay? They get the telegrams. This is only the beginning. But I think at this point, yes, and of course, Dan says, well, somebody think of the midterms, and hey, Cuba is suffering. That's right, Lady Alex, and I'm so glad that you brought that up. Because even as we speak, President Donald Trump is telling the president of Cuba to step down. Now, for those of you who don't know, at one point, Cuba was a little proxy nation that the United States was more than happy to carve up and cut up. If you remember the infamous and beautiful film Godfather 2, which is peak cinema. Peak cinema. There's a scene where they have Cuba portrayed as a cake, and all the big people in entertainment, even the mafiosos, are there. Anybody who's anybody's there wanting to cut up that slice. The thing is, everything sounds good on paper, but then controlling is key. And that's where, again, Michael saw the writing on the wall when he saw that bomber blow himself up. He knew. He was like, hey, wait a minute. It ain't safe to do business here. Baptista doesn't have this place on lockdown. We better get out of here quick. So we'll see. We'll see just how long this war lasts, because if gasoline or oil, becomes $200 a barrel and keeps on going up higher and higher and higher, there's going to be a big problem. If Americans can't afford to make ends meet, there's going to be a giant problem. This war in Iran isn't going to go exactly the way people hope for. And even if there is a ground invasion, I mean, you got to control it. All that mountainous terrain in which the enemy can hide. You could bomb all the schools you want. It's not going to win hearts and minds. You could say you're going to bring back the Shah, but the last time we put in a Shah, the Ayatollah took over. And before anyone else asks anything else, because I'm tired of this, one thing that triggers me, You see this on Piers Morgan's show and even on the media shows as well. Everyone talks about the Shah and, look how Western it was. Look at the Shah. Can everyone talk about what was before the Shah? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting a hold of Kit. We're not talking about that. No one wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about the national government that was there. Why do you think Dwight D. Eisenhower gave the warning of the military-industrial complex? Because even he got played. He got played. Supreme Allied Commander, let's get busy. General Dwight D. Eisenhower got played like a fiddle. All right, that's not a fiddle sound, but there you go. So, don't panic. It's only World War III, but cracks are showing. And if he's resigning so publicly, don't be surprised if there's other people who will resign too. Hey, Tulsi, didn't you do a whole campaign about, not Supporting regime change wars? Hey, Tulsi, where you at? Tulsi. Tulsi Gabbard, hello. Hold on, guys. We're gonna visit this one more time because this is her only recent tweet on Easy Street. I just want to pull this up here. Tulsi. Now, of course, this is for a tweet for a friend who's suffering from breast cancer. But, oh, look, resign from this effing administration. Any comment of the Epstein war? One guy who donated $1,000 to her 2020 campaign. Oh, there you are. Any comments about the Iran war? You care more about Susie than you do children that were slaughtered. Wow. We don't give a shite about Susie. Are you going to quietly allow them to send our sons to die for Israel? See, you're going to get... Oh, I'm already following her. Wonderful. You truly are a failure of having any actual decency or courage. All right. Marco Rodriguez writes, holy shit, you and your effing Susie have blood on your hands. She can burn in hell. All right. Let's see. Also, somebody, Jacob Hendricks says, weird way to announce you're still alive. At least we know you still support Trump's influence peddler. You're going to get a follow, buddy. There you go. Boom. You're going to get a follow right there. We don't hear from you in months. You finally post, and it's to repledge yourself to Susie Wiles. Ugh. This is what you come on to post about, not the million other things that are going on. Which, by the way, folks, let's see, praying for anyone other than Susie, maybe a school full of young girls. So tell me, did you welcome the foreigner, help the poor, feed the hungry, care for the sick? You know, all the things that Jesus commanded. Listen here, libtard. What's the takeaway? What's the lesson? Well, more people are speaking out and more people are talking about this. There's going to be more cracks. More people are going to resign. So for everyone that's right now following the news, we're going to go live again Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. Central. I just wanted to dedicate this live stream to talk about what is going on with John Kent and overall what this administration is going through. I also, want to give my solidarity and support to my good friend Keaton of Due Dissidence. Obviously, they do a show today and they didn't. So I just want to just state this here again to my friend Keaton. Condolences. I am so very sorry for the loss of your mother. I hope you and your family are able to find peace and a healing process to begin. And I know my words, my words really do mean nothing because this is an emotional pain. And I know this when I lost my grandfather and my uncle. And then last year when I lost my aunt. And then same thing too. Like, you know, it's a pain and it hurts and it will never go away. But you have my solidarity and support. And I do hope that there will be a peaceful horizon coming again soon. So I got nothing but love for my community and my viewers here. Thank you again for your solidarity. This was just a short live stream just to discuss what's going on in current events. And here's hoping that maybe more people grow a conscience, that more people decide to step up and do the right thing and realize that this war is pointless and a waste of time. I also want to give a shout out to as well my good one of our moderators and viewers of the show. You know, I just want to just give this out here today. All right. I just want to point this out here today as well. Just want to give a huge shout out to all the moderators and people who are keeping the show alive. Thank you again for your solidarity and support. So thank you to everyone who's watching the show, supporting, and being here with us. And if you want to help out Hard Lens Media, as always, please consider supporting our Linktree, Peachtree in the description box below. We have our YouTube channel. Please subscribe. X, please follow us. Rumble, join, subscribe. Kick, join, follow, subscribe. Join us on Patreon. Consider being a patron supporter. You keep the show alive. Substack, Discord, Instagram. Here's our Patreon page. Please consider supporting us on Patreon. All your support is greatly appreciated, and we do hope that you consider becoming a patron supporter and or remaining a patron supporter. And then finally, of course, please consider supporting our GoFundMe. Hard Lens Media is in a legal fight. I want to give a huge shout out to George Blitz II, Lawrence Johnson, and Julia Mortani, Tom Tresser, and Don Karn. Thank you so much for donating to our GoFundMe. We'll be sending out a lot of thank you letters very soon. You guys have been such a huge support for us. And more importantly, Hard Lens Media is just grateful to be standing tall. And if you can, share Hard Lens Media's GoFundMe on all social media platforms, Discord, Reddit, X, wherever. Solidarity is greatly appreciated. So until then, folks, I'll see you guys tomorrow, sharp 9 a.m. Central. Keep your heads on a swivel. Later, Gators. And once again, to my friend Keaton, condolences. I'm very sorry. I was in shock when I saw the video too, but you have my solidarity and support. So see you guys around on the Fury Road. And to cheer things up, let's have the Dancing Blues Brothers. All right, Jake Elroy, take it away. Hold on. I just saw Cowboy Kitty. Cowboy Kitty, I just saw you in the chat. You better not have gone anywhere. Cowboy Kitty. Hey. First of all, I saw you there, man. Cowboy Kitty, please be at peace. You're welcome. Hold on. Where's Cowboy Kitty at? All right. Let's see. Hold on. Cowboy Kitty, where are you at, man? I know I saw you in the chat. Cowboy Kitty, solidarity and strengths to you and your family. Shout out to, as well as Aspen Fallen. And also shout out to Chanda Master as well. Those are 3 strong women, and I want everyone to give support and solidarity to them too. See, I keep an eye on the chat. I saw you in there. Don't forget those 3 strong women too, folks. All right, let's move on the Fury Road. Thank you again for your solidarity. Support Hard Lens Media on all our social media links. Consider being a patron supporter because you keep the show alive. And please share Hard Lens Media's GoFundMe. We need all the help we can get. Knights of Rohirrim. The beacons have been lit. Where's that 10,000 strong cavalry? Much love and peace, everybody.